All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Ovens Garage. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do the door hinge pins and bushings on my first gen Cummins. So I'm going to be doing it on Old Blue today, the 1993 Dodge W250 Club Cab. And I picked up these door hinge pin kits from Lordco. These long pins are for the lowers, these short pins are for the uppers, and then they come with a set of bushings. I just realized one of my kits was already opened and only had 2 bushings, so I'm gonna have to go back to Lordco and sort that out. But in the meantime, I'll show you how to do one door. The door hinge pins should be pretty easy. It's not overly complicated to do it. You just need a few simple tools like some, I've got a big set of punches here, some long ones, some short ones, a few hammers. The total cost for both the hinge pin kits together was $16.18. So really cheap. It's just you got to find the time to do it and put in the effort to change out your hinge pins, but it'll be worth it overall because I'll show you on Old Blue, both doors are sagging pretty bad. As soon as you open up the door, it just drops right down, and changing out these hinge pins will just make the truck feel like new. These are Dorman part numbers. 38386 is the door hinge pin kit from Dorman. Alright, so first I'm just going to show you what I mean for bad door hinge pins. The passenger side isn't as bad as the driver's side, but you open the door and then it rests right here on your striker latch. So you can see here the metal's worn away quite a bit on the top, and the metal lip has kind of formed there, and it just sits right on top of your striker pin there. Another easy way to test this is just grab the bottom of the door and push up on it. Not sure if you can see that, but it goes up, at the back of the door about 1/8 of an inch or so. All right, so this side's a better example. Watch when I open the door here. You can see that is completely below the body line there at the back of the door. And then you can see on the latch itself is worn away quite a bit at the top. And the metal is kind of rolled over where it hits the striker over and over. Okay, and you can just see into the striker latch there where it's sitting right on the hinge pin. So you don't want that to be happening. All right, and here's just an example of the driver's side door. I can pick it up probably about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. All right, so we're here at the lower hinge pin now. You can see actually that's a piece of the bushing that was in there before. What I'm gonna have to do is punch up the pin from the bottom, and then I'll be able to take off the 3 bolts here and take off this part of the door hinge off completely, and then I can bash out both pieces of the bushing and then replace those 2 pieces, and then put this back on, slide the pin back in and hammer it into place either from the bottom or the top, and then that consists of the whole lower hinge replacement. First thing you're going to want to do is take a floor jack and a piece of wood and just barely support the outer edge of the door, so that way you can get access to the hinge pin bolts without any pressure on them. All right, so I've gotten the hinge pin starting to go there, so I'll just hit it all the way through now. All right, and I'll get the hinge out the rest of the way. There we go. Pin's out. Before I take these 3 bolts off, I'm gonna mark with a scribe the location of the door hinge, so that way I can put it right back to where it was once it's off. Using a 9/16 socket to get these 3 bolts off. All right, now that these 3 bolts are off, I'm gonna fish this part of the hinge out. All right, so I got this lower hinge out. I had to pry, or I had to lift up on the door more to give myself some more room to get it out. It was a little bit of a pain to get out, but it's finally out. All right, so now I have access to these hinge pins. I'm gonna hit out the top one first from the bottom. There's one. There we go. That one is junk. All right, so now we'll grab our 2 new bushings and put them in. We'll start with the top one. All right, now we can put our outer part of the hinge back in, now that those bushings are on. So now I'm going to, now that I've got that hinge back on, I'm gonna put the bolts back into the door. So now I can put my new hinge in. Don't put the short one in, put the long one in. All right, I had to re-loosen those 3 bolts just to get it to line up. And now I'll align my door and then tighten down the 3 bolts there. So we've got the lower hinge done. Let's do a quick test of the door shutting. It's perfect now. All right, there's the hinge latch, and you can see it's sitting above the striker now, and it's not touching the striker all the way in right until it latches. All right, and for the upper door hinge pins, it's probably going to be a little bit different. It looks like when I strike this pin up, it's probably going to hit the door panel here, so I'll probably have to take off the outer hinge and then kind of move the door back so I can put the pin up all the way. So we'll see how to get this one out here in a second. Alright, and that's about as far as I can go before I hit the door skin. Now I gotta take off these 9/16 bolts. Take my hinge pin out. Then take this hinge off so I can access the bushings. There's one of the bushings. All right, I got the lower bushing out. I ended up taking my smallest pin here, and then I kicked out enough at the bottom that I could take it here and then hit at it from the side and then down a little bit, and then it just came right out. All right, we'll take our new bushings, put them in, the top one and the bottom one, like that. I think I'll just do it the way it was. Drive it in from the top, push it on the door, get it started. There we go. Into the bottom, and then we'll take our hammer. Now we'll put our outer hinge bolts back on. Here's the final test. Closes nice and easy. I got all my gaps good at the top and the bottom. There we go. All right, so I've got the driver's side door dialed in now. Shuts nice, opens nice. Doesn't drop down at all. I'll show you what I had to do on the driver's side just because it was so worn. So I've replaced my hinge pins here and the bushings, but what I had to do was get these are called body shims. I got them from Lordco. I put them on all 3 hinges here to bring the door out at the bottom, which would bring it up at this end when it's closed. So I replaced my hinge pin and the pin on this side, but for some reason the door still dropped down and hit the striker as soon as I opened it. And I suspect that's just because it's so worn out over time, and this metal over here is really fatigued or something. Anyways, you can't easily adjust the inner hinges because you can only access one of the bolts from this side, and then you have to get two from the other side of the dash, which just seems kind of silly. So I opted to just get a few shims so I could raise the door back here using shims on this side, and it worked out well. I used one thick shim and then one thin shim on each bolt, and that was enough to do the trick so it could close nicely. Alright guys, that wraps up the installation of all the hinge pins and hinge pin bushings for Old Blue. Hopefully that helped, and thanks for watching. I think one of the next projects I'm probably going to do is I'll change out all the interior bulbs to LEDs. So I'm thinking about changing my dash lights to white LEDs, and then I'll probably have to change out the factory tack over to a white LED. So I might make a video for that. I'm pretty sure I already have a video on that. But I mean, it was like 4 or 5 years ago, so it never hurts for an update. So cheers, thanks for watching guys.